Mic test 1, 2, 3. Can you guys hear and see?
Yeah, I can hear you guys.
Okay. All right. Let us present us. Let me share my screen.
Yeah. So 1 second, we'll be sharing our screen.
No worries.
Yeah.
Can you guys see the screen?
Yes. Okay. Now sit and easy. The stage is yours. Good luck. Okay, thank you so much, Darren, for the introduction. Hello, everyone. My name is Siddhartha Chong Kar Chun, but you can call me Sid if you want to. Don't have to say Mr. anymore. All right, and here with me, right next to me, is Yinzi, my co-host.
Hi, everyone. My name is Yinzi. As mentioned by Darren just now, Sid and I, we host It's Not Brain Surgery podcast, a podcast where me and Sid do impromptu speaking and improve our hosting skills, which we'll be getting into later in our speech. So Sid, take it away.
All right. Now, before we begin our all tutorials and everything, I just have a very quick question for all of you. Imagine your lecturer. He's asking you to prepare a speech on something that you've been doing research on. How would you go on about it? Would you A, prepare a script and write down word by word, and then memorize that script and then recite it during your presentation? Or would you B, write down small notes on maybe a piece of paper, and then on the day itself, look at the piece of paper and present your speech with the points at hand? Or would you C, not prepare anything at all? Just say, okay, I just go in and present whatever comes to mind. What kind of person are you? And I think we already have a poll right here. We're launching a poll, and you guys can just leave your answers. Oh, some people don't prepare, so that's actually really good, right? I already know how to do impromptu speaking already, Bill. Okay, so most of you guys write down on your notes and key points on a piece of paper, and some of you would even prepare a script word by word. Okay, we can end the poll already. And in fact, that's a very good method of presenting a study. Most of the times when we're presenting study, we want to get all the facts right. We don't want to get anything wrong. And all the information should be included in your script as well. And sometimes doing impromptu speeches might not be the best method to go on about presenting a study. However, imagine yourself in a different scenario. Imagine one of your friends, he ajak you to go out for makan, right? And he brings along 5 other friends with him. So there's 6 or 7 of you guys in the mama. And everybody's just there introducing themselves. Hi, Yinzi, I'm Sid. How are you today? What's your hobby? What are you passionate about? And everybody's just interacting right in front of you. How do you prepare a script for that? And the simple answer is you can't, because people are just so unique in the questions that they ask, in their specific preferences and everything. So it's very hard for you to prepare a question for something as simultaneous and something so on the spot. And this is where impromptu speaking comes in handy. Being able to speak on the spot would allow you to not only gain more friends, gain more acquaintances, get to know other people, it also builds credibility. Now, another scenario B. Again, your lecturer comes up to you and say, wow, Sid, you've been doing some very interesting studies on, let's say, on mobile phones. Tell me more about it. In fact, go in front on a stage, tell everybody about it. 5-minute speech. And if you're a kind of person who would love to prepare scripts, most probably you would crumble under the pressure because, oh, I don't have a script, I didn't memorize anything, and I don't know what to say because although I have everything in my mind, I just, because I don't have the script, I can't present my speech as effectively. And this is where impromptu speaking is important, because most of the time, ladies and gentlemen, we know what to say. We know all the contents. If I'm the person who done the research, if I'm the person who interviewed 100 people and I have all the information with me, I know what to say. But more often than not, we don't know how to say it. In what way will we articulate our words? In what way will we transfer our information, the information that I got from my research, to my audience? And to me, I'm a person who loves to speak. I think you have already noticed that by now. I enjoy telling stories, and I've been doing public speaking for as long as I can remember, actually. even before my Toastmasters journey. And to me, not being able to share my stories or my opinions or my insights, things that I love to share with other people, if I'm not able to do that, to me, that's a tragedy, because I love sharing information, and I believe that's one of the happiest things in life that I can do.
So ladies and gentlemen, this is where the mastery of impromptu speaking comes in handy. As mentioned by Sid just now, there are many scenarios where impromptu speaking is needed. You might wonder, how do I improve my impromptu speaking? But before we dive into the tips, we have to first understand what impromptu speaking is. Like Sid mentioned, it applies to many, many different scenarios. It could be a conversation that you have with a friend at a mama session or in the lecture hall, or it could be a public announcement when your lecturer calls you. Let's say you're the class rep. Your lecturer calls you to announce to your classmates, oh, next week we won't be having classes because of what reasons. So we have to do a replacement at when. That's an impromptu speech. An impromptu speech is something that requires you to think on the spot, to put yourself in a situation where you don't really have time to think. This is where impromptu speaking is needed. It could be something as simple as talking about how your day went and what's your hobby. Imagine this scenario. You managed to get your crush out on a date, and then you've ordered your drinks, the food, and everything. This is where the conversation starts. You sit down and you don't know what to say. You just keep quiet. And then your crush asks you, so what do you like? What do you like doing? What's your hobby? And it's a simple question, but if you don't give it much thought, you might just sit there and think, I don't know, sleeping or whatever. Chances are you might never go on a second date anymore. If you're the kind of person who's good at impromptu speaking, notice that people in like social situations, people who do well in social situations, they're very good at coming up with things. They are good at impromptu speaking. And if you're the kind of person, like, you will get your crush engaged. Like you guys can have a conversation about, let's say, debating on whether, let's say you're a cat person and your crush is dog person. You can have a debate and you can see their eyes bright up, and you're in a conversation and you're more likely to have a second, third date. You see, we do impromptu speeches all the time. We're just not aware of it. And most of the time, when we are placed in front of a crowd, many of us crumble under the pressure because of our fear of humiliating ourselves, of the fear of making a fool out of ourselves. Like, what does the people think of me? Like, am I messing up? Like, am I doing anything stupid? Like, I might not be able to make friends. Like, all that thought process. This is because you don't have you don't practice impromptu speaking.
Oops. When the slides went all the way to the end for some reason.
Sorry about that.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
So we often get caught off guard and we don't know what to say, which is because we don't know how to speak impromptu. So Sid would like to start off some tips on how to improve your public speaking.
Yep. In fact, we actually have 5 tips with us, and the first 2 tips I'll present, and all 5 tips are things that we apply in our daily lives just to improve our public speaking and impromptu speaking skills. Now, the first example, and this is something that I do on a daily basis all the time. Think about an object or think about a word and see how you can play around it. So look around you, ladies and gentlemen. I believe you're on your desk right now, or if you're sitting on your bed, don't worry about that. That's fine too. Have a look around you, to your left and to your right. Look at all the items around you. Come up with a speech on those items. Let's say, okay, on Yinza's table, there's a post-it note, and we're doing this very impromptu, right? On Yinza's table, there's a paper, right? What can I say about this paper? What can I talk about this paper? If I write things on this paper, it becomes a note. If I stack many pieces of paper together, it becomes a book. And if I fold it into, give me 1 second, if I fold it nicely, it becomes an airplane origami. Not a very nice looking one, but proving my point. So there's so many things that you can talk about when you are looking at a single object. Another example, a pencil. A pencil is something that we use on a daily basis. And I use it all the time because I'm a working adult right now. And every day I prepare my own to-do list and, my to-do list for the week as well. Things that I have to finish up, clients that I have to call, documents that I have to send to clients for approval. And a lot of the points before I start writing on a document itself, on a Word document, I use a pencil. And to me, it's a very powerful tool because it allows me to write down my thought process. It allows me to write down all the things that I want to write eventually in my final document. There you go. A quick 1 minute speech or a quick 1 minute impromptu speech on pencils. Something as simple and unassuming as pencils, papers, your mouse, your phone. All of these items can be made into fun topics to talk about. Second tip actually. Think about a scenario and have conversations with people around it. So what I like to do is I like to put myself in weird and different scenarios. Imagine if I am an F1 driver, right? Formula One driver, and I'm driving 300 kilometers on the track, going very, very fast. Everything is a blur. How would I feel, right? I would feel it would be an exhilarating experience for me. It would be thrilling. It would be scary at the same time because, what if I crash into one of the walls, my car will go into fire and I would fly all over the place, right? Let's ask Yinze. Yinze, what would you feel if you were in an F1, if you were in a Formula One racing car?
I would be extremely terrified because in the first place, I can't even drive. I got a license.
You got a license, but you can't drive.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll trust you not to drive an F1 car. Okay, if anything, I'll be the one doing the driving next time. So you see, that's a very short conversation that I've had with Yinze. Another example would be, let's say, what if I could travel through time? What if I'm a time traveler? Putting myself in this scenario, I travel back 5 years ago, back when I was still studying in college. And I think about all the things that I want to tell my younger self. Okay, Sid, this assignment, very easy one. Don't need to think so hard. This one, you can finish in 5 minutes. Actually, I finish it in 1 day only. So you don't need to rush anything. Don't need to worry. This midterm test, not important one. Don't worry about it. If you fail also, don't worry. This one, you will score. This one, you will fail. All sorts of scenarios. Come up with all sorts of weird scenarios. Oh, me being the prime minister, me being, a king in this country, a monarch. Come up with all these kinds of scenarios and give yourself a 1 to 2 minute speech once in a while, or have conversations with people around you, just like I did with Yinze just now. And you will slowly but surely improve on your impromptu speaking.
The next tip is output. It's input before output. You have to have input before you talk about certain things. Like me and Sid, we both love books a lot. And like you can see, I have a lot of books around me. I have
here's a shelf actually right here.
A stack of books. So like if reading is not for you, that doesn't matter. What matters is you learn on a daily basis. You consume content regularly. In any media, it could be YouTube videos, it could be podcasts, it could be articles, or even TikTok videos could be educational. So what matters is you learn all the time. Because if you notice that people who are really good in social situations, they know a lot of general knowledge. They can talk about a variety of topics. So without input, you can't have output. For example, I'm a public relations student. If you were to ask me something about actuarial science or marketing or even engineering, that's not something I can talk about. it would be impossible for me, and I would stammer and I would just keep quiet. I can't say anything about it. If I were to share with you the book that I've read, this book is called Courage is Calling. In the book, the author talks about how growth is a leap into darkness, how you have to put yourself into uncertain and situations of discomfort, because that's the only place to grow. If you don't put yourself in, if you're staying in your comfort zone all the time, like you can't grow. And this is like a little short message from the book that I've learned. If I've never read, I can't say anything about it. So this is the importance of input. So a suggestion to you is to prioritize education over entertainment, because education can sometimes be entertaining as well. Depends on what medium you watch. If you see a YouTube video that's very engaging and it's educational at the same time, watch that instead of maybe dramas
or playing games.
Yeah. The fourth tip for you is to use personal stories. Humans, like people, love talking about ourselves. We love talking about ourselves because, well, like it makes us feel better. And we are the people who know the best of ourselves. We are unique. The experiences and everything we go through are unique. And if we're able to share personal stories, we are able to build a gap between you and the people you're speaking to. Get an example. I can tell you something that happened back in my childhood. I was in Taiwan and was this nasty kid who approached stray dogs and go woof woof. And then what happens is the 3 stray dogs chased me and I almost got bitten. Or that I could also share the time where I touched a hot lamp in a mall and I burned my hand. And my dad had to go and grab some ice from the nearby restaurant. So by using personal stories, you can engage with your audience. And that is one of the best ways to start with impromptu speaking, because your experience is unique to you. And it's better, it's easier to talk about personal stories than it is to share about like a very technical topic. So start with personal stories. And my final tip to you, is preparation and practice. Forget about the previous 4 tips. If you don't use any of those tips, if you don't practice, if you don't put in the effort, you won't get anywhere. Because impromptu speaking, like any other skill, requires preparation, requires practice, requires patience, requires you to nurture it. It's like a seed that you plant. You need to water it every day, consistently, until it slowly slowly grows into a tree. It bears fruit. And until then, you have to work on it every single day. Let's take a different example. Let's say you want to go to the gym, you want to lose some weight, or you want to work on your biceps. That's also not something that you can achieve in one day or a week or 2. It's something that you have to constantly work on, and you have to be patient with yourself and enjoy the process. So preparation and practice needn't be something like a chore. It doesn't have to be a chore. If you work on something that you're passionate about, something that you care, it's easier. So if you're wondering where you can start your impromptu journey, my suggestion to you is dream big, start small. Something as big as a podcast that me and Sid did. It's not brain surgery. We talk about a plethora of different topics, from work-life balance to the recent one we did was taboos in Malaysia. And at the start of our podcast, I was extremely quiet. I didn't have anything to say. Sid was mostly doing the talking, and I was more like an audience than a co-host. But over time, as we've done like a couple demos and the first few episodes, I could see myself grow in the process. I start to speak up more. And what we usually do during a podcast is we don't use scripts because we find that using scripts might make the podcast unnatural. We want our conversations to flow. So what we usually do is we come up with a couple of key points and then we jump straight on a Discord call and we go on like 20, 30 minutes about the topic. So something as big as a podcast can be started with one small step by having a conversation like, hey, Sid, like, what do you want to, what's the next podcast topic? What do you want to talk about? Start small because, well, for people who know investment, the compounding effect, like something that's small can snowball into something that's so huge, that the momentum so huge that nothing can stop it. And it starts from one small step. So,
Yep. So as Yinzi mentioned just now, a lot of you might be intimidated by the idea of starting a podcast. You might say, "Oh no, I really don't want to record myself and placing myself online so that everybody can hear." You might make a fool out of yourself. Some people might be worried like that, and that's completely fine. You don't have to follow our methods. It is just something that we have done, and we have seen huge improvements. As Yunzi mentioned just now, at the beginning, he's more like an audience. He's just very quiet, always answer, "Oh, yes, I agree. No, I don't agree." But over time, he's able to provide his inputs and provide value for the show as well. Now, for people who are new and you're thinking, how do I improve? How do I start? Right? You can ask yourself something as simple as, what are your hobbies? And if I ask this question to any one of you, I believe you can answer me within 5 seconds. Yinzi, what's your hobby?
listening to music, reading, and swimming.
Okay, listening to music, reading, and swimming. My hobbies are reading, playing games, and listening to music as well. So we actually do have really similar hobbies. But then if I wanted to talk about my hobbies, I could just go on for a very long time. And I believe that everyone here who, even though you don't have impromptu speaking knowledge, you'll be able to speak about your hobbies very, very easily because point number 4, it's not tip number 4, using personal stories. There is not a single person in this world that knows you better than yourself. And your experiences, your hobbies, your likes, your hates, the things that you enjoy, the things that you don't enjoy doing, all of them are exclusive to yourself. So you probably know what your hobbies are. And start off with something that you've always wanted to try out. Personally, I want to try out skydiving. It's something that I've never tried before, and it's something that I'm very, very interested in. The feeling of being up in the sky, looking at KL, right, and seeing everything from with an eagle's eye view, literally. To me, that's a very exhilarating experience. And it's something that I want to try at least once, maybe in about 2 or 3 years, once the pandemic is over and once I gain the courage to, finally jump out from a plane. And it's something that, to me, everybody has to try out, in my opinion, because it's just such an out of body experience, literally. And there you go. That's another 1 minute of impromptu speaking, of me rambling about one of the things I want to try. And you can do it as well, ladies and gentlemen. By slowly practicing, and it is a skill that you have to gain over the years. Now, for people who are more experienced, challenge yourself to speak on something that you're not too familiar with. Yinzi mentioned just now that he wasn't good in, he's not very knowledgeable in actuarial science, engineering, computer science, and all these very technical topics, right? I think, Waijun, I think you're taking computer science or something. So you might be able to. No, you're not. Wait, hang on. What are you taking again?
Mechanical engineering.
That's even worse, right? That's even more complicated. Mechanical engineering. So if Yinzi would, or let's say I have no idea about mechanical engineering either. So I challenged myself to speak about mechanical engineering. I give myself maybe 5 to 10 minutes to do my research online, and then I get on a call with Waijun. Talk to him about mechanical engineering, try to present my ideas and my thoughts. Oh, this is the thing that I've discovered, in my 5 minutes of Googling and YouTube research. Can you tell me more about it, right? And then have a conversation with Waijun. And that's an impromptu conversation because I didn't prepare my script. I didn't prepare anything. And it gives you less time to think and less time to prepare, because most of the time when somebody asks you a question on the spot, they want an answer on the spot. So if you take your time, they probably go home and do their own research on Google anyway. Now, the most important thing is to have fun. As Yinzi mentioned just now, it takes time. Practice, practice, and practice. If you go to the gym and you work out every single day for, let's say, 5, 6, 7 months, after that time period, you'll be able to see, oh, I'm growing muscles here. I've lost a bit of weight. I've lost a lot of weight. My face is sharper, and I just look better overall. But how do you measure impromptu speaking mastery or public speaking mastery as a whole? It's very hard. And to us, it's just by recording ourselves and documenting the process and posting it online. So one of these days, I think I was a couple of weeks ago, we went back to our older episodes and when we listened and we were like, damn, we really sucked back then. We were really bad last time. But when we listen to our later episodes, we will say, oh, wow, okay, not bad, slowly improvement. So that's how we document our improvements over the years and over the months, actually. What you can do instead, if you are, a bit shy and you don't want to have a podcast, you can record yourself on your phone and just keep it saved, share it with 1 or 2 of your friends only and say that, okay, within 5 months, I want to improve. And then you can compare with this audio and 5 months later, how I sound. Or, upload it on YouTube so that you can get back to it on a later date. But it's something that will take you months. It will take you years even. It's not something that you can gain in a matter of days or weeks. I have been in Toastmasters for about 5 years. I think Darren mentioned just now earlier. And I still do stammer here once in a while when I'm presenting an impromptu speech. You can hear it very clearly because there are pauses here and there just now when I was speaking. And in fact, the whole speech actually is semi-impromptu. So you will see mistakes here and there anyway. 5 years of experience and I'm not perfect yet. So take it easy. You're not supposed to rush. And you're supposed to enjoy the process. Take it one step at a time. It is something you are not rushing to compete with anyone else. I'm not rushing to compete with Yinze here. I'm on my own journey and he's on his own journey as well. And it's a very fun journey. It's a very enlightening journey, if you will. And I think, taking it easy is the way to go.
So, ladies and gentlemen, as a token of our appreciation for attending our session, we'll provide you with a worksheet. Later, facilitators you guys can use during your sessions. We have 3 prompts. The first one, which is related to our first tip: observe your surroundings, write down 3 objects that you can see, and then do an impromptu show and tell for 1 and 2 minutes. And the second prompt, which is imagining yourself on a date. Ask yourself, what are the 3 fun facts you would like your date to know about you? So the final prompt, which is write down 3 personal story titles you'll be comfortable sharing with anyone. And an example would be a terrible incident that happened in college. Or maybe if you have siblings or you have, let's say, you grew up in a different background, share it with people, because like I said just now, you can build a connection by sharing personal stories. So here's my gift to you. And I'll pass the control back to Darren now. I hope you guys enjoyed our session.
Yep. Thank you. Bye-bye.
So, okay. Mr. Bevan, are you ready? Yeah, I can see your thumbs up. Okay. All right, Mr. Bevan. The stage is yours.
Okay, great. So thank you, Darren, for the intro. So give me a second as I share my screen. I think I need to share my slides for you guys. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see this now. Give me a second as I try to adjust this. Okay, great. So I think everything's set up and that we can start right now. So hi everyone, good evening, dear students and so dear friends. So good to be here this evening to be able to share and to present to you the topic of my speech today titled Engaging Your Audience Online, Be an Effective Speaker. So truly, I'm really grateful to be invited by the Toastmasters Society of Thai UC to be a guest speaker today. So I really hope that this session can be a very interesting session for you guys, and also you guys can learn some stuff also here and there that it can help you to be a better speaker as a student as well. So before we start off with my speech for today, I would love to invite you guys. So I already see some love and thumbs up there. Very good, very fast. So I would love to invite you guys to actually scan the QR code that you see on screen right now, or you actually can log in to www.menti.com and key in the code 7528995 so that you can join in better and participate a little bit better throughout this speech, the next 20 minutes or so that we are going to have. So once you guys have already logged in, I would love to invite you guys to you will see 4 buttons on your screen, whether be it on your PC or on your phone. Just type any one of the button that you feel that you're right now. If you're feeling excited for this session, can you give me a love shape or Korean love shape or whatever? All right. If you're feeling good, give me a thumbs up. Or maybe you're feeling, I don't know what am I doing here today, or what, you can put I see there is 2 people, but I'm not sure why am I here today. 2 question mark. And if you are feeling cheeky today, you can put the little cat emoji there, right? So I'll give you guys a few moments. I think there are about 45 of you here to actually join in with this slide session before we start with our speech. Say good, good. I can see the emojis flying up. So very good, very good. So we'll give you guys a couple more moments as you join in, and let's have the emojis start flying about. All right. So yeah. I'll give you guys probably another 10 seconds to join in, and then we will start with this speech. All right. So 5 seconds. 5. Okay. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so let's start with our speech for today. So before we start off with my speech on this topic, actually I want to play with you all a little bit of some icebreaker. I want to break the ice a little bit with you guys. I want to get you guys to interact with me a little bit. Again, this is not a lecture. I am not your lecturer. I'm not going to give you a 2 hours lecture on this topic. This is a talk. Okay, so as you can see on screen, give me a second as I try to move to the next slide. Can you guys see? Can, right? Okay, so I would like to start off with a question for you guys here right now. So how do you feel about online speaking? So that's my first question that I'd like to ask you guys. And you can see on your left side, there's a meme here, me during online classes, no idea what I'm doing. So if you think that you love online speaking, can you guys give a love, put in a love emoji there. If you like online speaking, give a thumbs up. If you don't like online speaking, you guys can put a thumbs down. If you are not sure, I don't know lah, you don't ask me, you give me a question mark. So let's see what are your responses from you guys. So I see there are quite a number of I'm not sure, I don't know. And there's quite a number of you that like it, that's good. And there's 2 of you that don't like it, okay. And there's 3 of you that love online speaking, okay, it's very good, okay. Wow, so the 3 of you, I can invite you here to speak instead, besides me, okay. So very good, very good. Thank you for responding, guys. So let's move on to the second question that I have. Okay, so have you ever encountered an awkward moment while presenting online? You can see this meme here. I'm sure if anyone is paying attention or it's just me talking to myself. Have you ever experienced that before? You felt that way when your lecturer asked you to present in class. Then when you're presenting, you don't know whether anyone is paying attention or not. Of course, your lecturer is listening to you, but you don't know whether your friends are actually listening. If that is you, you can give a thumbs up. If don't have, thumbs down. If you also not sure, I don't know why you also quite not sure, you can put a not sure. Okay, so it seems that quite a number of you, 15 of you, 15 of you have experienced this sort of awkward feeling before. Okay, quite a number of you, very good. Okay, so it's moving on. Okay, so now you see on screen, okay, now I want to get you guys to type up. Okay, type out something with me. So what do you like or dislike most about online speaking? So I want you guys to type out your answers. Okay, keep it short. Please don't give me long essay. Again, this is not lecture. This is not your assignment. I'm not your lecturer asking you to do assignment now. In 1 or 2 words, yeah, very good, right? Type out your answers here on the screen, and your answers will be on screen. Please, okay, guys, control don't type out very weird answers lah, huh? We don't want to ban you from this from this talk. Okay, so we have boring, we have awkward, lonely, you're lonely can't teman you lah. Okay, nervous. Okay, we have interesting, distracted easily, very good. Will be recorded. Wow, this one is very good. We have to be very careful what we say lah, huh? Because you don't know what will happen. We have sleepy, very good. We have cringe, yes, that's true. We sometimes can be very cringy. We have boring, okay, very good. More, you need to visualize more, okay, very good. I don't care. Wow, this one really, I don't care, huh? Okay, what else do we have? Shy, yes, it can be quite shy, huh? Sometimes presenting online. Bad internet connection, very good. Yes, sometimes Malaysia Wi-Fi, you know, the standard of our Wi-Fi that we need to prepare. Okay, very good. See faces, okay, that's good. Okay, so any more? If not, we will move on next. Dislike internet lagging. Okay, that's good. That's good. Okay, great. So I think that's about it. We'll move on to next. Thank you all for your answers. Very, very interesting answers. Parents shouting. Wait, there's one answer that is very funny. Parents shouting when SPE. What is SPE? But parents shouting probably so. I have had experiences very funny of students presenting. Suddenly their mom barged in the room. A boy, then ask them, wow, then that's very funny. Okay, voice cracking, ugly faces. Okay, good. So thank you all for responding. So I see mostly is a little bit dislike sort of answers, but very good. Thank you for responding. So let's get right into our speech for today. Don't worry, I'll have another one of this word cloud for you to participate later on. So let's come back into the topic of our speech today, which is engaging your audiences online. So the flow of my speech today will consist of 5 parts. Number 1, I'll be talking about the shift, a change in how we communicate. Secondly, I'll be talking about why is online speaking important today. Thirdly, I'll be talking what are the challenges. Fourth, how we can engage better online. And number 5, I'll be giving you a bonus. I'll be telling you my story, a story of how I learned and grow over the years. So let's start with our speech for today. Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm not trying to bore you with some news articles on screen or whatever, but I think this is quite relevant because no doubt we are living now in this pandemic phase, and we are still in this pandemic phase, right? And this has really changed the way that we communicate with one another, right? Take, for example, we are all here now on Zoom, right? Comfortably in our homes, in our rooms, instead of being physically in a hall or what, having this workshop. For example, many of you may still be having online classes, right? Hybrid classes, you may still be studying from home. And this transcends beyond just the college or university life, but also the workplace. A lot of workplaces are still currently in hybrid work, while they're working from home and at work. And many pundits and experts or scientists have actually argued that this sort of virtual, learning or meeting sort of concept that we're having is here to stay, where we see even companies like Facebook or Meta embracing this whole virtual reality or metaverse. So this has fundamentally changed the way that we learn and we communicate. How has this impacted us? Well, this has impacted us immensely. For example, before the pandemic, we were able to, gather in large groups, go for concerts and go out, yum cha with your friends, do all these sort of things. We were able to go to lecture halls and, be in a big lecture hall in class together. But after the pandemic, after that, what happened, right? Everyone now is like social distancing, social distance, 5 meters, right? In all this in class. We are now attending classes online, even when the lecturer asks you to turn your camera on, this is what you get, or this is what I get sometimes from my student faces, right? And so this has really changed the way that we communicate, the way we learn online. And so this brings us to our next point, which is point number one. Speaking online today is no longer a choice, but it is a necessity, right? It is something that we need to accept. It's something that we need to embrace. Why is that so? Number one, elastic impact of COVID-19. We have no idea how long this whole COVID pandemic will last, right? We thought that, oh, after Delta, we'll be better this year. And then boom, what was the latest case yesterday? Does anyone know? I think it's over 1,000 cases right yesterday. So the truth be told, we're still not out of the woods yet. And so even with the way we attend classes, many of us are still attending it online. So that's one. Secondly, it's a moving trend. A lot of companies, as I mentioned, are embracing this whole concept of having online study, online classes and so on. Even companies are embracing it, so on. So it is undeniable to say that it is a moving trend. A lot of companies are embracing virtual meetings. Companies like Facebook are embracing the metaverse. So this is a moving trend. Thirdly, why? Because it enhances your communication skill. A news report last year in 2021 noted that because of the COVID-19 pandemic, soft skills are becoming even more valuable to employers today. According to a new poll by Harris poll, right, it found that one of the most sought after soft skills among employees is communication, right? And I'm pretty sure many of you may be going for your internship soon, or maybe graduating. Who knows? You may even be attending your interview session for job application online. And therefore, online speaking is even more important in that context as well. So moving on. So then what are the challenges then of online speaking, right? What are the challenges there? And I can share to you some of my own experiences as well, being a lecturer, right? Being a lecturer myself, I can joke, I can tell you guys this, okay, as a lecturer, this past, I think, 2 years of online study, I have mastered the art of, being thick-skinned. I can tell you all that I really mastered the art of being thick-skinned. Why is that so? Number one, right? Because of the lack of audience reaction and emotion, it is difficult to speak to an online crowd. Why? Because you are not able to see your audience, right? Take for example now, most of you have your videos off. I can't see your face except a few faces in between your committee members. I can see a few, like for example, like Min Shen or Justin. Okay, thank you for opening your camera. At least I can see some faces. But for example, even in a lecture, in a virtual meeting, mostly everyone keeps their camera off. And most of the time, you know what students like to do? They like to put a funny virtual avatar of themselves. Correct? Maybe you are doing that yourself. I've seen students put avatars of a hamster, of a monkey, of a cat or dog. So literally when I am speaking online, I'm speaking to a bunch of animals with their virtual avatars there online. And so this, thank you, Wendy. Now I see a potato there as well, right? So this is what we mean by the lack of audience reaction. Secondly, due to technical difficulties, like some of you mentioned just now, we encounter a lot of problems like, can you hear me? Sir, I'm lagging. Sir, I disconnect, I lag. A lot of these technical difficulties that can sort of like disrupt the whole experience of that online meeting or virtual meeting that we have. Third point is that lack of engagement. Now, this meme totally represents how I feel all the time in classes at times, right? When you ask a question online, boom, it is like a dry desert where I do not get a single response. So that's why as I say, I've already mastered the art of being very thick-skinned during classes. And these are some of the challenges with online speaking. So moving from that, right? So moving to my next question, I would like to get you guys to type out. So now if your phone still logged in, I hope that you haven't scroll your Instagram or Facebook yet. Very good. Okay, smile. So I want you guys to type out, what do you think makes a great online speaker? Okay, so I want you guys to type out your answers on your phone now in 1 or 2 words. Okay, thank you. So I'll give you guys a few moments to do so. Thick skin. Wow, someone here already typed thick skin in the chat. This is a very fast learner. Fast learner. Okay, we have what? Let's see what's the answers that we have. We have creative. Very good. Confidence. Okay, very good answer. Humor. Okay, that's good. Articulate in your speech. Very good. We have clear voice. Okay, good. We have engaging. Very good. Links to the topic of our speech. Clear message. Okay, good. Memes. Oh, someone put memes. Okay, joke. Okay, no lag. Okay, charismatic. Very good. Charming. Okay, good. Fast internet. Okay, this is somewhat true also. We need to have fast internet. Using interactive tools. Okay, very good. What else do we have? Nice to look at. Well, this one, this answer, this person must really like Leng Lui, Leng Zai or Leng Lui lah. The answer, nice to look at. Okay, comb hair. Ayo, I didn't comb my hair, is it? You say, right? What else do we have? Preparation. Very good. Friendly. Okay, interesting topic. Okay, good. Clear voice. Okay, I think that's about what this person really typed like Louis in the chat. I mean, go and ban this person. Who is this? Joking. Okay. So yeah, I think that's about it. So thank you for your answers. So very good answers from all of you. So all of these answers from you indicates to us what we want: someone that is confident, very positive, take things like it isn't too serious, right? And so on. So now I'm going to give you guys some tips on how you can be a better speaker online, how you can engage better with your audience. So are you guys ready? Okay, let's go. Right. So yeah, so my first quote that I'll leave you guys is: engagement online begins with yourself. That's the first quote that I'll leave you guys. You can write down your notes, whatever. Engagement online begins with yourself. Okay, you cannot expect other people to be engaging. You, your own self, to start. It starts within. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. So what are some practical tips you can do? First and foremost, open your webcam. Open your webcam. This is one of the most fundamental things, but also one of the challenges I often see with students when they are presenting. Many times students, as you know, they will say, "Oh, sir, I'm shy lah. I don't want to. Sir, I'm very ugly today. Can I don't open my webcam?" These are some of the common answers I get. But please, when you want to engage with your audience, you need to open your camera, right? Because many research have actually shown that the words that we use only accounts to less than 10% of how we communicate, but up to about 55 or 60% actually comes from your body language, right? And so how can you convey your message when you hide behind your hamster avatar, when you're presenting, right? So you're showing your face, opening your camera is very important. And it's not only just that, you also need to be able to set yourself up nicely in front of the camera. I've had students that present during that whole, there's this one story, this student, when he was presenting, during that whole 15 minutes when he was presenting, the only thing I can see is his hair. Legitly, the only thing I can see is his hair. The way he positioned his webcam is such that for the whole 15 minutes, I'm just seeing his hair. And by the way, his hair is not the very nice and combed hair. It's the type of hair that you just woke up in the morning. Very girly type, right? So secondly, you need to know yourself, because every speaker is different from one another, right? You need to know what's your strengths, what's your weaknesses, and not compare with others, because each one of us is different in the way that we communicate and speak. So knowing yourself, right, or having a friend or a lecturer give you some advice or tips goes a long way in actually making yourself better. Thirdly, use personal story or experience that you shared. I think some of the previous speakers have also shared this point, because stories can better link and relate to your audience. Now, at the end of this speech, I'm going to share to you a story of mine as well. Moving on. My next quote is: engagement online requires purposeful intention, meaning that you, your own self, need or wants to interact with your audience. Now, what do I mean by that? Point number 4, keep your slides short and clear. Why do I say so? There is a fine distinction between reading and presenting. Many of times I encounter students when they are presenting, they love to put a lot of words on their slide. And by doing so, what happens is that they end up basically just reading from the slide. If you do that, what happens is that you're not presenting, you're just reading from the slide. So always keep your slides and your points short. Moving on, point number 5, visuals empower. use visuals, use videos, use illustrations, or use even memes. You see that I use quite a number of memes to get your attention, because this is what can capture people's attention, especially among your generation, which are very our generation. I'm not that old, I think, right? Among our generation, we are visual learners, right? People do not want to see a long assignment in your slides full of words. People want to see a combination of words, points, and visuals. And my last point is make use of interactive functions. Encourage your audiences to use the chatbot. Use polls, use surveys, use whatever methods that you have to better engage with your audiences online. So these are some of the practical tips that I have for you that I've shared. So I would like to move on to the last, in my last quote, which is engagement works both ways. Okay, so no matter how well you prepare your content and so on, understand also that engagement is a two-way thing, you and your audience. So always bear that in mind and never be too hard in yourself if, let's say, nobody responds to you. Like what I mentioned in the beginning of the speech, within online speaking, you have to master the art of being thick-skinned once in a while. So moving on to my last part, my conclusion, I would like to end my speech with a story. This story is actually my story here. And let me share to you, a little bit of a story. You can see on the screen now a picture of a young man there on the left. And yes, that is me. Maybe I think about 100 years ago. No, maybe I was probably 18, somewhere near to where your age is right now, with that long fringe, that sort of J. Chow sort of vibe. That was such a thing back then. And so the reason why I'm sharing to you this picture, this old picture of myself, because this picture really represents my journey as a speaker. Maybe you're expecting me to tell you, oh, how amazing my first public stint or public speech was, how great I did. But truth be told, my first experiences speaking in a large crowd wasn't really good, right? I remember doing my first speech publicly, I actually went back home crying. Why? Because sadly, my first stint ended with not with applause, but rather with jeers and boos from the crowd. And so that actually led me to felt a bit sad, I didn't do so good, and so on. For some of you, you maybe have be just starting your journey speaking publicly, or others probably you're looking at ways to further improve yourself. But my point here is that there is a start for each one of us. All right, and some of you may do well in the beginning, some of you may not do well in the beginning. But I want to encourage you guys that it doesn't matter how you start, but how you finish, which is your failure today does not determine your future. And even when I look back at myself, all those years, I'm truly very grateful that through the years I've learned and grown to become a better speaker, that I can be here today to share to you all on this topic of online speaking and how to be a better speaker. So if it's one quote that I will end my speech today which is this: stay humble and keep learning and never give up, because you will be a better speaker one day, as long as you try hard enough. So yeah, that is my speech for today. Thank you.
BASF Asia Pacific Church Service Center. So without further ado, let me invite Mr. Dean Tan to give his speech.
Thank you so much, Darren, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Right, you can start.
I'll begin. Yep, I'll just share my screen. Okay, I appreciate a heads up when you can see my screen.
Yep, we can see it.
We can see it.
Awesome, thanks. Ladies and gentlemen, today I'm here to talk to you about feedback. But before I start, I'd like to do a little visual exercise. I'd like you all to imagine you're in an event organized by a university, quite like this one. It's been a long day of trainings, discussion sessions, and many heated debates. At the end of the session, the organizers, as always, ask for people to give feedback. And there is a lone open mic. And as usual, nobody is volunteering. Becoming a bit desperate, the organizers decide to call on someone. And that someone happens to be you. Whether you're Jalen, Brian, Isaac, Mingshen, or Jiaqi, you are called to the stand. And so I have one question for you, and that is, how do you feel? And if I could just get the poll to be launched. Yes. So please answer in this poll, how do you feel about this kind of situation, about having to give feedback in a group setting? Do you A, enjoy giving feedback? Maybe you're one of those that always volunteers. B, you're neutral towards giving feedback. You're not really for or against. Or C, you don't like being forced to give feedback. You'd much rather be quiet. Okay. I see, maybe leave it open for about 10 more seconds. About 75% have responded. I think that's a good amount. Now, organizer, could you share the results? Thank you. So as you can all see, it's a pretty interesting distribution. A good third of you are interested and you'd like to give feedback. The majority are neutral, and some of you dislike having to give feedback. Now, I'm someone who loves learning about how other people feel and think. So pardon me as I would now like to call for some volunteers to explain more on your answer. And in the interest of getting a representative sample, I'll be picking them randomly. If not, I think the most active people will volunteer. So can I please ask Ku Yen Ling, if you're there, could you please unmute and tell me which you chose and why you chose that answer? If you're not okay to unmute, you can just type in the chat and we can move on to someone else. Hi.
Hi. So I think giving feedback is a good thing. I chose that to enjoy giving feedbacks because
Okay.
giving feedbacks you can actually learn something from it. It's like reflection. Yeah.
I see. Thank you very much. Thanks, Yanding. And I totally agree. There's a lot of value in reflecting and having that feedback be heard by people. Let's ask someone else. Maybe let's get one or two more. Can I get Joyce Lim? Joyce Lim, are you there?
Yeah.
Great. Now, Joyce, if you could tell me which you chose and why you chose it. No right or wrong answers. Just give me your honest feelings. Hello, Joyce.
Hello. Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, I couldn't catch what you're saying.
Oh, it's okay. Did you vote on this poll?
No.
Oh, then no problem.
I couldn't vote on the poll.
Okay. But if I were to ask you now, how do you feel about giving feedback in a group, in a large group? Do you enjoy it? Are you neutral or do you dislike?
I guess neutral.
Neutral, okay. And why do you feel neutral towards giving feedback?
I'm not sure what to feel.
Mm. Okay, you're not sure what to feel. Maybe you haven't thought about it a lot, so you don't have an opinion yet.
Yeah.
Okay, that's totally fine. Thanks so much for your input, Joyce. I totally agree that on many subjects, I'm very neutral towards them as well, because I just haven't really thought about them much. It's as simple as that sometimes. Okay, let me call one more. Let me see if I can pick a guy. Okay, Shane. Are you there, Shane?
Alright. Um,
Great. So which did you
Hi,
pick
Dr.
and
Lee.
why?
Yeah, I'm Mr. Lin.
Hi.
Yeah. I will go for the first one. I enjoy giving feedback.
Oh, and what's your reasoning?
Well, the reason would be, I also like receiving feedback. Feedback is important where you get to know whether someone is listening to you, and then you also get to improve from the feedback that you receive from someone. So it's like a motivation. It's yeah, it motivates us to improve. So without feedback, you will not like, now you are talking, you are giving a speech to us. So without feedback, you will know whether you will not know whether the participants are listening to you. And then if we do, we will give feedback, and then that motivates you to improve, or even to speak better in your speech later. So I think it's very important, and it's good to give feedback. And
Thank you.
I encourage people to do so. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Shane. That was a very detailed answer. I think you've thought about this topic quite a bit, at least. Perhaps you should be giving this talk instead of me.
I think I learned that in another course. Yeah, definitely. Because in counseling, we do, we do have to give feedback sometimes to our clients, or we do have to receive feedback from the clients. Whether
you're in counseling.
I'm doing psychology, so we have a course.
Okay, got it. Great, thanks. But thanks so much for your answer, Shane. I pretty much agree. It's a good way to test to see if your message was being delivered effectively, and you can also get good feedback to improve.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you everyone for your responses. In the interest of time, I think I'd love to hear each and every one of your answers actually, but I'll move on. So I'm sure we all have our own reasons for liking or disliking feedback. However, I'd like to share a common observation, especially in Malaysia. I'm not sure if that's the case in your uni, but maybe just from my own education and work experience. When you ask for feedback in Malaysia, often you get a crowd like this. Everyone remaining silent, waiting for the first person to raise their hand. And I find it strange because the moment people actually leave the room, they get into excited discussion with their friends like, hey, wow, that first guy was so much fun. Or the second guy was so boring, I wanted to sleep already. Or I think the third guy had a really good point, but I actually think differently. When we're in a smaller circle with our friends, I've noticed that people naturally want to share their feedback and say what they think. So I'm not sure if it's a matter of people not knowing what to say, but my own theory is that giving feedback is risky. And by risky, I don't mean that you're going to get punished by these organizers for giving bad feedback. I mean that giving feedback, especially in a large group, exposes you. You're showing your inner feelings or your thoughts on a topic to a large group of people who maybe looking at you for the first time. And in the West, where cultures are more individualistic, it's not so much of a problem. But I think there's a lot more risk in societies where community is very important, like in Asia, especially if you think of countries like Japan or China, and even Malaysia to some extent. what people think about you carries a lot of weight. It could determine the friends you make, the girlfriends and boyfriends you have, your position at work, your promotions, and even your increments. So I think it's a very natural reaction for us to feel kind of afraid or not wanting to give feedback. So that begs the question, if giving feedback is risky, why should we give feedback? And we've already heard a great range of answers from the few volunteers we had earlier. I'd like to share one or two of my own. Firstly, feedback lets you make real change. I've been working in my office for about 2.5 years. I graduated around 3 years ago, so not too far from many of you. And one thing that we've been having every month is a group meeting. In that meeting, we share relevant topics about like new projects or maybe problems that we're encountering in work. And in the beginning, there was never any feedback. We just sit down, have the meeting, and go home. But at some point, the managers decided, no, feedback is important to our company culture. So at the end of every meeting, we will have 2 or 3 people give their opinions on the meeting. And before, at the start, people were a bit reluctant, like, I don't really want to say anything bad. I don't want to ruin my reputation. But eventually, you start to hear the same thing over and over again. People would really like it when the meeting was short and efficient, and people would really not like it when the meetings were long and draggy. So this sent a clear message, I think, to the organizers of the group meetings. And today, we have meetings that are much shorter than what they used to be. In the beginning, they would be around 2 hours long. And if you think about it, in an 8-hour workday, that's 25% of your work time gone in a meeting. And people would often have to do overtime on the day where there were meetings, unpaid overtime. So by having a platform to give feedback, we've actually managed to cut it down to around 1 hour per meeting. And that helps people's morale and it helps work-life balance. And most importantly, it lets us go home on time. So feedback lets you make real change when you bring it out in the right way. Another benefit of feedback, more on a personal level, is that feedback leaves an impression. Many of you, I think, will be getting your first jobs soon. And I'd like to share my own experience about how feedback has helped me in my work. Being someone junior, there's not a lot of time where you can be in charge of a project or give a presentation on a topic because you're new. But one area where you'll always be called on is to give feedback. Why? Because you're young and you are a fresh set of eyes on a system that's been around. And that was what happened to me. I'm a more outspoken guy, so often during group meetings and things, I would give my feedback when others may remain silent. And that made it so that more people noticed me, especially in a big structure like an organization. And before I knew it, I was giving more opportunities to increase my visibility and reputation at work. For example, at some point, I was chosen to give a speech during the annual company dinner. And I think a lot of it came from me just being able to use feedback as a way to communicate who I am. So I would say that if you can learn how to give effective feedback in a group, you have a strong chance of increasing your reputation and becoming more recognized. In fact, this very thing has led me to be able to get promotions and increments when I don't think that I'm very superior to my colleagues in terms of technical skills. So now that we know that feedback is risky, but there are rewards to giving feedback, you need to ask the question, how do we give feedback? And asking the question, how do we give feedback, is a bit like asking, how do you paint a drawing? Or how do you paint a painting? How do you make a work of art? Because feedback is an art. There are many, many ways to do it. There's no one right way. As long as you achieve this goal, which is to send a message and have it accepted. The two parts to this, send a message and have it accepted, are equally important, because there's no point that you give an opinion and nobody listens to it, or you give an opinion and it actually makes people dislike you. And because this is a workshop, I like to give a simple way that you can start giving more effective feedback. And that is to be a mirror. Let me explain. Giving feedback in Toastmasters, we learn, is a lot about giving your natural reactions. So all you have to do is show the person that you're giving feedback to how their work made you feel. Think of it this way. Every day we walk around the world not being able to look at ourselves. That is part of being human. It's only when we stop to look at a mirror, we notice, oh, my hair needs to be adjusted, or maybe my blazer is slanted, or my tie is loose. So when you're asked for feedback, you're really being asked to be a mirror for the person that just delivered a workshop, who gave a speech, or did a project. Some ways you can give your natural reactions are just talking about your likes and dislikes. For example, if you were to give feedback to a course, maybe you could say, I liked when you used an activity to help us internalize the lesson. For dislikes, you could say, I didn't like the design of the slides. I felt that it was a bit too black and white for me, and it didn't go well with the theme of the presentation. You could just say, I enjoyed your speech. They brought life into the speech by using stories. Or you could say, I didn't like how much you moved around during the speech left and right. So the emphasis is to just give your natural reactions. Here's another way that you can be a mirror. Be a mirror, not a laser pointer. And this is something I'm taking from our Toastmasters education program. We'll learn to focus more on feedback rather than advice. Now you may ask, what's the difference? When you're giving advice, you're a bit like being a laser pointer. You're pointing out what somebody is doing wrong. Okay, here's what you need to fix. And most of the time, that makes people feel attacked, or they feel like, oh, they need to get defensive. And that really defeats the point of feedback. So I'd like you all to imagine that you've just given a presentation on your favorite topic, and I'm the one giving feedback to you. How would you feel if I said, you need to speak louder? And compare that to, I couldn't hear your speech clearly. How would you feel if I said, you should put more pictures and videos in? As opposed to me saying, I wasn't really engaged by your content. How would you feel if I said, you need to stand up straight when you give a speech? As opposed to me saying, I noticed that your upper body was tilted at some points. When you give feedback, people are more able to reflect because you're just pointing out an observation. And notice that when we give feedback, we're always using the words I. Whereas when we give feedback, we're often using the word you. Because when you give feedback, you're talking about your feelings, your reactions to something. Whereas when you're giving advice, you're telling someone, okay, you need to do this, you need to do that. Okay, so these are 2 simple tips, but I would like to get some people to try to put it into practice. So I'd like to pose a question to all of you. How have you found this session? And I call for volunteers again. This time, feel free to volunteer. If not, I'll start calling on people. If you'd like to volunteer, please just unmute.
Yeah. Hi, Medine. So
Hi.
I feel that your message was extremely clear and concise.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the way you present, and I like the way you speak. It's very soft, kind of like late night FM DJ.
Okay.
And it does kind of help us tune down, because this is our last session, and you make us feel relaxed, like we're not rushing to an end. So these are the feedback I can give for now.
Thank you so much, Yinzi. And I think you did excellently on the 2 points I suggested. You gave your natural reactions. You didn't tell me what to do. You just told me how you feel, that you felt you enjoyed my voice and the way I presented the information. And you even gave the analogy of an FM DJ. And so these will be in my mind the next time I give a new speech. Do I want to keep on doing that? Do I want to change it up? Thank you, Yinzi. Now another volunteer, please.
Can I say?
Sanjay, go for it.
Yes. I don't like this presentation. I feel it's so short. I wish it could be longer.
That's very flattering. Go on.
That's all.
Okay, that's all.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, Sanjay. Now, I think that's a very interesting way to give feedback as well. I think you gave your reactions, but you also added some humor. And I'm sure that made people build a certain impression of you. So well done if you were trying to achieve that. Okay, another volunteer, please. You can try to apply the tips I gave, or you can give it in your own style. Okay, if nobody is volunteering, maybe I'll call on Joseph Wong. Joseph Wong, are you there? You're still on mute in case you're trying to speak, Joseph. Okay, if not, going once, going twice. The next volunteer that I'll pick is Crystal Chin. Crystal Chin, are you there?
Yes.
Great.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear my sound?
Yes, very clear. Are you okay to give feedback on this session?
Sure.
Great.
Actually, my feedback is similar with Yinzi. Is said like your sound is very comfortable and relaxing, and about your speech is very enjoyable and meaningful to us, especially me, because I lack of some experience of giving useful feedback, since I I always give the feedback at past, not always sometimes at the Toastmaster, since it killed by Wajun. So thanks for your information, and I will learn for the next time. I will use it. Yeah.
Great, thank you, Crystal. Crystal, is there anything you didn't like about the presentation?
No, very like.
Okay, no worries. But yeah, thank you, Crystal. That was a very straightforward, good feedback. Again, you told me how you feel and told me about what you like. I think we have time for one or two more. Any volunteers? If not, I'm gonna start calling names again.
I like your accent.
Oh, who's this? Ming Shin, right?
Yes.
Oh, you like my accent?
Yep.
All right, thank you so much for the feedback. All feedback is good feedback.
Sorry, can I try?
Yes, Yichuan, go for it.
So for your speech, I think it's very informative. The examples that you give makes the entire topic very clear to me. As for the room of improvement, I feel like you could use more vocal variety so that it could sparkle some excitement to hear more from your speech. I think that's all for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Yichuan. I think that is a very valid point of improvement. I have gotten that point of improvement a lot. I do want to highlight though that that was advice rather than feedback, just for your awareness. Okay.
I think I could try.
Yes,
one
Jalen,
shot.
go for it.
So I really felt like this whole speech and presentation was really great, and it was very easy to follow. So there was the sections where you really divided it into like really short sessions and sections, and the tables that you provided were very clear to follow. So there's one thing where I feel like would be more engaging is that there are some different ways to like engage with the audience. So sometimes you could to have the least path of resistance, one of the ways is just to ask the audience to type a number. They just type one, then you get like a flooding of comments like one. Yeah. So because I feel like sometimes if we might need to give like an actual like feedback, then we'll just be scared like, I don't really have that much feedback, and which is actually similar to your point, what you said. Overall, really good session. We're glad to be here to listen to it.
Okay, thank you, Jillian, for the feedback. And yes, thanks for sharing to me that you gave me the reflection that people are afraid to give feedback sometimes. Maybe that's your feeling. Yeah. And so now I'll incorporate that and I'll think about that on how I'm going to engage people in the next speech. Okay. Maybe one more feedback.
Should I try?
Sure, go for it, Wenyi.
For me, I really afraid of giving feedback because of the risk. For example, like I am afraid that I hurt someone's feelings, or I will say something really bad and everyone starts defending their points by attacking me. So that's the reason I'm really neutral about giving feedback. And by the tips you're giving, be a mirror, not a laser pointer, I realized that I've been being a laser pointer for a long time. So I like the points you mentioned. Just be a mirror. Don't judge everyone by giving advice. So that's all from me. And I like your presenting style because it's straight on point.
Thank you so much, Wendy, and congratulations on giving feedback, even though you said you were afraid of it. So it means that you are changing and conquering. Maybe the way you see feedback is changing, and that's awesome. That's what I hope to achieve today. And definitely, I like to add on a point where many of us default to being a laser pointer because we want to say like, oh, that's what I don't like. I want that to change because I want to have a better time, right? If someone's being loud, you want to tell them stop being loud. It's very natural. And it's not to say wrong. There are certain circumstances where you can be a laser pointer. For example, when you have a very close relationship with someone and they're very open to your feedback, then sometimes they just want you to point out. Or maybe you're a teacher and they're a very humble student. But for most people, yeah, it is not smooth to be a laser pointer because they will take offense. And a lot of people are easily offended. It's human nature. Well, thank you so much for the feedback, Wenyi. I think that's all the time we have today for feedback. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing. In summary, we are sometimes afraid of giving feedback because it poses risks. I think Wenyi explained that very well in his feedback. However, feedback can spark change and leave an impression of yourself. Lastly, one effective way to give feedback is to be a mirror. Of course, this is by no means the only way, but if you're lost, this is one way to get started. I'd like to end. I hope my goal today was to get you all to think differently about feedback. And I'd like to leave you all with that message. I have on screen some contact details. If you have any questions about feedbacks, evaluations, or even Toastmasters, here are my contact details. I'll leave it on for a few seconds, but anyway, I'll hand it back to Darren. Thank you so much, everyone, and goodbye.
All right, thanks, Dean. Oh, that was a very full session where it to be honest, you completely changed my perspective about giving a feedback, because whenever I give feedback, okay, at first I really hated giving feedback. I am those kind of people who really hate giving feedback. You know why? Because everyone is looking at me, everyone is like judging me. I feel that everyone is judging me, everyone is looking at me, and then I feel like what if I say something wrong, then I may emotionally hurt that speaker who I am giving feedback to. So I believe that there are other ways. After listening to your speech, I believe that actually, how do I actually hurt the speaker is that I am giving advice instead of feedback. So after right now, I will try to give constructive feedback by being a mirror myself, by being a mirror and not like laser point someone. Even laser pointing, for example, let me give you an example. Before this, I was talking to my president, which is Jun, and I suddenly laser point on him on something which is kind of confidential right now, but then I laser pointed him at that time, and then I can sense that I am actually very dictative. I feel like I am controlling the conversation and not letting him to speak, and I am also like being the dominant side lah. So after I listened to your speech and after I heard Wen Yi's feedback on you, I have noticed something. I recalled that, maybe I'm laser pointing this guy. Maybe I should apologize. So immediately I went to him and said, Jun, I apologize for just now. It was very sudden and I am truly, deeply very sorry. Which is why, don't take it personally. So feedback is feedback, which brings me to another point, which is feedback is feedback. You shouldn't take it personally, even though it is very laser pointed at you. So to all the people who are giving feedback, to all of you who are giving feedback, try to be a mirror and not hurt the other people's feelings. This is my key takeaway from Dean's speech earlier. All right. After we have this done, we will be moving on to our next session, which is the certificates of appreciation session for the speakers. Now, I would like to invite my president, Jun, to take over this session.
Thank you so much, Darren. Now let me just share my screen. Actually, I'm perfectly fine with what you just said. So don't think too much about it. Okay, so actually I added just one more slide before the appreciation for speakers as well as the festies, because I do want to say something after listening to a couple of speeches. So just want to let you guys know why I organized this workshop in the first place. Because I always thought like Toastmaster Club is a very good platform to really voice your thoughts out and really train yourself how to become more confident in expressing whatever you want to say in front of public, especially. So back then, when I was in secondary school, after I took my PT3, I was known as like the top student in the school back then. I was very like famous for that period of time. And during that time, right, this particular PE teacher came up to me and he noticed that, okay, so this is a stereotype that they had on me. I was very introverted. I do not speak a lot unless I have to. And even if I have to, I will say yes or no. So a lot of people will consider me like the nerd. And this PE teacher, right, he is not only teaching us physical educations, but he's also teaching us life lessons here and there. And he noticed whenever the boys were going out to play, right, for PE, he noticed I'm always the one at the corner, like just don't say anything and keep quiet. And why this is so bad, he came up to me and said like, you need to let your presence felt. Like otherwise you'll be invisible. Nobody will know you exist. Even if, like, imagine next time you go to corporations, you're unable to speak up, you're unable to do impromptu speaking when someone talks to you, you're unable to be confident to speak, you're unable to engage your audience because you lack the confidence. And last but not least, if let's say someone asks you to give feedback, you felt vulnerable. So essentially you are encased within your own barrier that you set up for yourself and nobody will know you. You'll be very hard to get acknowledged, very hard to get promoted, and very hard to be recognized by other people. So that's when what he said to me really inspired me to take a huge leap of faith, get into more leadership positions, get to be more engaged into more like public speaking roles, even before I joined Toastmaster. And that has helped me to really expand my network, get to know interesting people, and get to step out of my comfort zone from how I was back in Form 3 after taking PT3. So essentially, if you ask me to like speak to public, like let's say I have to invite 4 speakers to this workshop, right? If back then I wouldn't be able to do it because I have that barrier for myself. But now I believe I have really conquered that kind of fear, and I noticed how important it is to make my presence felt in social settings. So that is why we have all of these 4 speeches here, right? They are part and parcels of our life. We have to do impromptu speaking all the times, like what Yinzi has said. We need confidence, and confidence can be done through the 3 Ps, like what Patricia has said. And also, what Dean has said earlier, feedback makes him stand out in his corporation of office. So that's why I organized this Make Your Presence Felt workshop, and I hope this workshop was fruitful, especially for every one of you. As also the breakout room session, I hope it was also like engaging and help you guys to interact a little bit more, be more vulnerable, and share what you have to your trainers earlier. So without further ado, I would like to have a short session for appreciation to speakers and trainers that have spent their time so much together with us in this Saturday afternoon. So first speaker, we have a certificate of appreciation for Siddhartha Chong. Mr. Siddhartha Chong is sit here.
No, he left.
All right, then it's okay. Thank you. Please let Sid knows that I really appreciate his effort to to really give a speech. And moving on, our co-organizer, Xiu Yinzi, for being a speaker for the first, sorry?
He left also.
Oh, then who's this? All right, Yinzi, thank you so much for crafting this amazing speech for everyone. So maybe, Yichuan, could you take a photo of Yinzi together with this certificate of appreciation?
All right, are you ready, Yinzi?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, smile. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Yinzi, and thank you so much, Yichuan. Then we have our second speaker, Confidence is Calling, by distinguished Toastmaster Patricia Yap. Is Patricia here?
Yes, I am here.
Hi, Patricia.
Hello, thank you so much for this wonderful experience.
Thank you so much for your time and your session. It was very amazing.
Thank you.
Yichuan, could you take a photo?
All right, you ready?
Yes.
3, 2, 1, smile. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Then we have one guest lecturer from FCCI. Actually, I wonder if any one of you participants or go-getters recognize Mr. Bevan here. He was Lindsay's lecturer. So I think Mr. Bevan left earlier already. So yeah. I'll make sure to send this certificate of appreciation to him. It was truly amazing to know what lecturers feel, right? Sometimes online settings, we are just the one absorbing knowledge, but look at what the lecturers have to go through. They face the lack of engagement, but Mr. Bevan is good enough, thick skin enough, and we should definitely learn from him. And last but not least, our speaker, Mr. Dean Tan. I think Dean is still here. Yeah, thank you so much, Dean. Just my feedback to you is actually I really like your voice and really stands out your presentation, very clear and clean. So thank you so much for your session.
My pleasure, and thanks for the feedback, Waijen.
Yichuan, could you help take photo?
All right, 3, 2, 1, smile. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you, Dean, and thank you, Yichuan. And of course, I need to send a really, really huge amount of gratitude to all my trainers today. We have 11 trainers in total. We have Yinzi, co-organizer, Darren Kaur, our MC, Isaac Ding, Joseph Wong, Joe Goh, Thomas Wong, also the president of Utah Sungai Long Toastmaster Club, Senila Ni, the president of Tai UC Toastmaster Club from Penang, Jaylin Zi, Joyce Lim, also from Tai UC Penang, and Atira and Marcus, who are members of Hero University Toastmaster Club. So thank you all of you for help facilitating some of the sessions here. This event will be really tough and lack of engagement without any one of you. So thank you so much. Now, everyone, we have reached the end of the session. We would like to know what you think about our workshop. Please use your phone to scan a QR code, or maybe we can have like a link in the chat. Yichan, could you help send the link into the chat? Yeah, please give us your honest feedback on what you think in this workshop, like what we can improve in the future, because definitely in months to come, we would like to have more workshops like this to really benefit more Thai UC students, as well as getting everyone to know more about Toastmaster Club. And this feedback form, make sure you fill it up, because it is how we will be able to tabulate your attendance and collect your claim your soft skill points for you from DSA. Now you may fill up the feedback form. Then I shall move on to the next announcement that I would like to make is, this is not the end. Like, we are not, the workshop is merely a workshop, but your public speaking journey, your journey of establishing your presence, and your journey of self-improvement does not end here. We would like to invite you to our demo meeting that will be happening next Saturday. It is very first time we'll be conducting a hybrid demo meeting. It will be on 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. So if you are interested to attend our demo meeting, please scan the QR code, and we will also send a link inside the chat. So this demo meeting is free. You can come over, but let's say if you decide to come to, let's say if you are near campus and you would like to visit our meeting in the public speaking room. By the way, public speaking room is SA block. Let's say if you are interested to come, you just register first, and I will guide you guys to that location. And if you are not in KL, or you're not convenient, like let's say you're afraid of the pandemic, sure, I understand. You can just attend on a Zoom platform like this. So be sure, if you are interested to come physically, register early, because we would like to limit the participants who attend this particular meeting on the venue itself, because COVID-19, we have to take our precautions. So this photo is actually one of our, actually the previous demo meeting that was done physically, and it was that my very first demo meeting that I attended on Toastmaster. I think you guys can see like right here at the left side. I don't know if you guys can see my cursor.
This was 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was 2 years ago.
Years.
Yeah, I think a lot of us, including Yinzi, this is our first time exposed to Toastmaster, and it was one of the best memory because it was held physically, and a lot of people were there. And I hope to recreate some sort of a memory for you guys also, and make this a hybrid meeting. So with that said, that will be the end of our workshop. I hope this workshop benefited you, and there are values that you're able to bring back home, or you're already at home, bring back home and use in your future engagement with other people, communications, and any real life interactions, even presentations, getting your presence felt in public settings. So that's all. And I will just leave our social media details over here. If you're interested to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or even join our WhatsApp group to get meeting updates, we will share everything, like for example, Zoom meeting link over there. So feel free to check us out. And with that said, I hope you guys enjoy our workshop, and I'll see you guys when I see you if you're interested to join our demo meeting. And that's it. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye. Hope you guys enjoyed the session.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
See you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Pat.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Jin. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, thanks.
Have a great weekend, yes, everyone. Have a great weekend. And also rush on assignments if you have to.
Oh yeah. We also have like in Tasi Toastmasters, we have a culture where like after meetings we do an mama session, and basically it's a casual session where you just chill and talk. It's kind of like the breakout room session we did just now, but it's less formal. Yeah. So yeah.
But
Bye.
the recording is still on,
Bye,
by the way.
everyone.
Oh, the recording is still on.
Oh.
I will stop share the screen.
Yay, finally.